Hi everyone, Chris from Stone Age Gamer here, and welcome back to Stone Age Gaming. The Metroid franchise turns 35 years old today. The day this video is being posted, it's the 35th anniversary of one of my absolute favorite video game franchises. I love Metroid. I've loved it since the day I first saw it when I was a little kid playing I got my new Nintendo Entertainment System. I had that giant poster that had all the games on. I was like, Metroid, what a cool name, and you know, the calendars and all that other stuff. I just love Metroid, and so I thought it would be a great opportunity to go through my complete US collection of Metroid games. Again, I'm using the quotation marks around the word complete because there are a couple of variants and stuff I don't have. Like, I've never been a big fan of collecting the Player's Choice stuff, like the greatest hits kind of things, you know, except the Nintendo flavors Player's Choice. So I don't have the Player's Choice versions. I don't have the, the Wind Waker Metroid Prime combo pack thing. But other than that, by my criteria, I have every unique US released Metroid game. So let's go take a look at them. Okay, let's talk about some Metroid. You see, I got a couple of friends joining me today. They're squishy friends too. I love Metroids. These are the coolest things. Like, look at this amiibo. It's squishy. I love this thing. Anyway, all right, let's talk about Metroid. So this is a complete US collection, but I did have to show off this guy first because this is the actual game that we're here to celebrate. This is the game that is having its anniversary today. This is the original Japanese Famicom Disk System version of Metroid. I don't have a Famicom Disk System myself, but I really want to get one, and I've collected a handful of the games on it, just the really important ones to me personally. And with Metroid being such an important thing to me, I just had to track down a copy of this for myself. So this is the well, we'll show this first. This is the actual the game disc itself. If you've never seen a Famicom Disk System game before, these are endlessly fascinating to me. They come on these awesome bright yellow floppy disks, basically, and you know, there's the logo written right there on it on the side A and B. Comes in this cute little sleeve here. And then this is the real cool stuff. This is the instruction manual. So there's the original Japanese cover that you would see, and then on the back you got a little view of Samus from behind, which is a really nice little image there. So let's take a look inside. We've got some labels, some stickers. These are actual stickers. I can't believe they're still intact, which are so awesome. There's a Ridley, a Metroid, and Samus up there, and then you can slap these on your disc, and then you got these pictures here of the from the storyline. This is their the Galactic Federation lined up there, some funky looking aliens, and then it's I mean, look how thick this thing is. This is a serious instruction manual, and it's just chock full of so much awesome artwork. I just love this. There's an old space police guy shooting a space pirate, I guess is what that's supposed to be. You know, there's an energy tank. In blue, there's some Metroids and Samus looking all cool, and I had no idea that this was a real eye-opener for me. I don't remember the first time I saw this, but Metroid in Japan had save slots, kind of like Legend of Zelda, which is so cool. It blew my mind seeing that when I was a kid, because I remember spending so much time pounding in those passwords over and over again. There's Ridley and Kraid next to each other, and this is where it all started. And this is a gorgeous, gorgeous instruction manual, just full of so much cool artwork. I love this thing. Yeah, I don't know what else to say about it. It's Metroid. This is where it began, and it's a phenomenal game still. It has, you know, it's aged a bit. It's not the easiest thing to get into nowadays, especially if you started on more modern games. It's easy to get lost and whatnot. But there's still an awful lot to love about the original release. So. Let's move on to the American stuff. Here is the original US release of Metroid. I don't know if there was a Circle Seal version. I'm not going to lie. I don't have 100% knowledge on that. But this is my copy of Metroid that I picked up at, what was the store called? Microplay Video Games in Summers Point, New Jersey. They're not there anymore. But that's where I got my Metroid from. So let's take a quick look inside. Because, you know, there's some different stuff here. This is one of the few silver label NES games. After they finished up with their black box stuff, they did 3 silver label games. This, Kid Icarus, and Rad Racer, before moving on to more full color stuff like Ice Hockey, RC Prime, etc. But here is Metroid. ta-da! This is my cartridge, which is in. I'm very proud of the condition that this sucker is in. It's in great shape. It looks nice. It smells nice. There it is in all of its silver label glory. And here's the instruction manual, which is more or less a retread of what we just saw in the Japanese one, except the artwork's larger. The Metroid story is pretty expansive. You can see it's there's an awful lot here. We just looked at that Japanese one. I love how much larger the artwork is for the American ones. It's one of the definite advantages that we had here in the United States. I used to love reading through, just pouring through these instruction manuals for all the different bits of information. And just like the Japanese one, this is a lengthy instruction manual. And it's got this cool little map in there, Kraid and Ridley, Samus getting burned in the butt. So much cool stuff in here. The ice. I always love these. The Chozo statues were always so mysterious to me. And then you've got these weird little monsters that hold the weapon items in their mouths. I've always thought that was such a crazy cool design. It's everything about Metroid has this wonderful air of mystery to it. I just love this artwork is so cool. Your energy tanks, your missile rocket. Oh man, and then you get all your American names, your Zoomers, your Zebs, Rios, and Rippers, and Screes. And there's Kraid. Man, look how much the design has changed on Kraid over the years. Like, he's this gigantic lizardy guy now, and he has this super cool hair in this one, weird creepy eyes. Ridley's the other one. He changed a ton. And this isn't exactly a secret. Everyone's seen this one, but man, just look at Ridley. He was all kind of like chubby in the original one, very, very dragon, and I've never really understood what was going on here. Is that his eye, or are these supposed to be his eyes? I've never really understood what I was supposed to be looking at with the head here, but either way, super awesome stuff. So Metroid did get a second proper release on the NES, a second unique release, and that was this guy right here. And if you've ever played Metroid 2 for Game Boy, you may recognize this cover because it's the same, but we'll get to that in a minute. So this was one of 4 games was released as the classic series. They had Punch-Out, not Mike Tyson's, just Punch-Out with Mr. Dream, Metroid, The Legend of Zelda, and Zelda 2: The Adventure of Link. And they all had this kind of matched the more slightly more modern trade dress they had going on here, like the NES logo down here on the side. So this kind of matches up with other stuff like Star Tropics and whatnot that was coming out around this time. And the cartridge itself matches. It's this super cool bright yellow with the triangle in the background. It's very, very 90s. Very much a product of its time. But it's such a cool looking thing. It's such a cool looking image. So there's the card itself, matches, and then your instruction manual is pretty much the same thing on the inside. It's I don't think they changed a single thing about it. It's just top to bottom here. It's the same instruction manual. They probably updated stuff like this checkboard or whatever it is. Was the checkboard in there? I don't know. Nope, it wasn't there. Ooh, there's cute pictures back there too. Oh, are they? Let's discover together. No, wow, it's a little shorter. Look at that. They did change something. Who knew? Apparently not me. But yeah, that was the classic series release of Metroid for NES. A pretty snazzy looking thing. I bought all 4 of those when they came out because I just couldn't not. I'm a humongous Punch-Out fan. So it's like, sure, I'll buy another copy of Punch-Out. This one looks a little different. Yeah, I'll pay for that. And my the cartridges for the Zelda games were gray instead of gold, so I had to have those. And I bought the other 3, and I love this cover art, so I bought Metroid. I got them all at my local electronics boutique when I was a youngin', when I was a wee lad. All right, so let's see what's next. Comes Metroid 2: Return of Samus. This game blew my flippin' mind as a kid. First off, this is the best iteration of that cover art. They've used this image of Samus on a handful of Nintendo Power posters and ads over the years. This particular image with this space backdrop was just the coolest cover I think I'd ever seen on a video game up to this point. It's simply amazing. I love the name of it. Everything about this box is awesome. Everything about this game is cool. You can obviously look at it now, and there's all these technical limitations, and like, oh, they couldn't really do this with the Game Boy because it was black and white, but I still remember being so completely blown away by being able to play a Metroid game this expansive on a small little handheld like the Game Boy, and just the cool things that they added to it. The music, the Surface of SR388 tune is one of my favorite Metroid tunes ever. It's such a good tune. I loved the Metroid evolutions. This was such a cool idea to have the regular Metroids just be like one flavor of Metroid, but they actually evolved into all these other different things. So here's the cartridge, same artwork and all that. Nothing all that exciting. It's a Game Boy cart, huzzah! And then we have the instruction manual. You got your story and everything. Did that weird thing with where Game Boy instruction manuals all had that kind of tint to them, so they weren't usually in the fullest of full color. But man, look at this artwork. Look how much better the artwork got from Metroid to Metroid 2. And not saying there's anything wrong with the original Metroid artwork, but boy, did they really suss things out for this. Metroid, even Samus, even in her regular power suit, not even the Varia suit, looks so cool. This is also where the big shoulders from the Varia suit came from. And there's your Metroids and a handful of other creatures, some more awesome pictures of Samus in her Varia suit, your regular old stuff teaching you how to play the game. Let's get to the evolutions. You got your items, very cool. Let's introduce the spring ball and the space jump. Man, this game did so much cool stuff. It's the first place we saw Samus' starship. They started introducing different creatures to hold the power-ups, right? So here's your ice beam. It still looks like from Metroid, but then they did a snake for wave, the crab for Spazer, and this little dinosaur-looking dude for plasma. Oh, this is so good. This was so good. And then we got the weird creatures, your Skreek, your Sepdog, whatever that is. And then we got our Metroid evolutions. Where are they? Come on. I know they're around here somewhere. There we go. These were the coolest things in the world. These drawings are so gross. Look how freaky these little things are. They're so awesome. And man, they were a pain in the butt to fight during the game. And then you got your splash screen of Samus Aran, including the nice little behind the view picture of Samus that matches the back of the Famicom instruction manual we saw earlier. How awesome is that? I love Metroid 2. It's a super flawed game, no question about it. It's got its fair share of issues, but I still love playing through it, even with the existence of Samus Returns, which I love as a game. I still think there's plenty to love about the original Metroid 2. Now, this next one isn't actually a Metroid game, but it's something I needed to talk about, and that is how I played Metroid 2 originally. I didn't have a Game Boy, so I played a little bit of it on the Game Boy and was totally fascinated by it on a friend's Game Boy, but I was never able to get through it. Then they released the Super Game Boy, and this is how I actually played through Metroid 2. And I was super thrilled by it by seeing it in the store, like, oh, they got Metroid 2 right on the cover, but something's wrong with this, because that's not what the surface of SR388 looks like. That is not what Samus's sprite looked like in Metroid 2. What's going on with her head? But it's still got the HUD down on the bottom, so I'm not sure what I'm looking at here, right? Because if you look at the back, you've got an actual screenshot of Metroid 2. That's what it actually looks like. This is not that. So what is this picture? Where did it come from? It's so weird. But anyway, this is a great way to play Metroid 2. I used to love messing with the colors. The game looks great on a Super Game Boy. It's got a lot of good... This was its like default one with the weird blue in the background. I would always change it to black, and I think the game just looks spectacular that way. You make the border all black, change this blue to black, because you could always change the colors in the Super Game Boy. And that's how I played through Metroid 2 for the first time and beat it, and thought the ending where you save the baby Metroid was the coolest darn thing. I love Metroid 2. But this is the pinnacle right here. This, to me, is as good as it gets. This is my copy of Super Metroid that I bought the day it came out. Now, I'll never forget, the first place I saw this was on the cover of an issue of Game Fan magazine that said, Super Metroid, how does Nintendo make games this good? I had no idea they were going to make a third Metroid game. I had hoped, but... I didn't get a third Kid Icarus game either, so you never know with those kinds of things. You still don't, but oh my goodness, seeing this game in person, before it came out, I went to Electronics Boutique in Hamilton Mall, and I asked the guy behind the counter if I could try Super Metroid, and I got to see the intro sequence where they talk about the story. The last Metroid is in captivity, and then Samus get out of her spaceship on the surface of planet Zebes and walk around with the rain. This game is as close to perfect as I think I've ever experienced a video game in my life. It still astonishes me to this day, and I know that there are. I've seen a lot of younger players starting to get into the Metroid series now because of Metroid Dread, and it's always painful for me to see them play this game and not, like, a lot of people appreciate it, but they're not like, oh wow, this game really is a top-to-bottom masterpiece. Like, well, it sure would be great if this had a map or a better map system or some of the more modern accoutrements that people are used to. And I loved getting lost in this game. I loved the whole thing. Every single drop of this game is just perfection to me. Now, you can tell that this one, of all the Metroid games I own, probably got the most use. I used to do this thing where these came with these plastic sleeves on the bottom. I don't know how well you can tell on here that there's these vertical lines on the top of my label here. Is because I used to take the little sleeve off the bottom, and in order to not lose it, I'd slap it on the top. So a bunch of my Super Nintendo games have this kind of like scratching going on the top there. It's not like terribly obvious, but it's totally there. And also it's two-toned, because this didn't leave my system a lot, and I think I had my system near a window for a while, which might explain this, besides just the cheap plastics that Nintendo used for some of their parts. But there it is, Super Metroid. And there's the wonderful box. This was the first one with the only for Nintendo in the corner, before they did the whole like RIP thing in the corner. This did get a re-release as a Player's Choice title with a big blue ribbon in the corner, but I never bothered with that because, it's not my thing. And here's the instruction manual. If you've never seen this before, some even more awesome full-color artwork of Samus. This amazing recap of the Metroid series so far that also plays out. There's a final scene from Metroid 2, all redone in 16-bit. You can see Samus's eye for the first time. This was so awesome. I pored over this manual backwards and forwards. Anytime that I wasn't allowed to be playing Super Metroid, I was like in my living room reading this manual, looking at this map, and just poring over the mythology, and couldn't wait to see what I was going to discover next in this game. It is just about the most perfect game I've ever played. I replay it as often as I can. I've never gotten sick of it. This redesign of Kraid, oh man, him being the gigantic lizard that was several screens tall was one of the most shocking things I had ever seen. Crocomire, what a great boss battle. Awesome reinterpretation of Ridley, using the grapple beam to kill Dragon. And of course the whole ending sequence. I could go on and on about how much I love this game. I could seriously just talk about it for hours because it's one of my favorite games, my very favorites. It's so good. If you've never played this one, please play it and give it a fair shake, and realize that most of the modern Metroidvanias, as they're called today, would not exist in the state that they do without the trails that Super Metroid blazed. So, then Metroid went on hiatus for a long time. There wasn't anything real and Metroid related for quite some time, and then we got a double dose. On the same day, we got Metroid Fusion and Metroid Prime. We'll touch on Metroid Prime in a bit, but let's follow up with Fusion, because this was the next 2D Metroid game. This is Metroid 4. This followed up Super Metroid, and it got a little overshadowed when it launched because, Metroid Prime was the big new 3D Metroid game, and it looked amazing. And this game is definitely really well worth your time. It's a lot more guided than most of the other Metroid games. It's very talky, but that's the game industry was going through a period of evolution. But the art direction was great. It was very colorful, much more colorful than previous Metroid games. And this whole thing with the SAX was nuts. Like, the thing about Metroid games is by the end of them, you are so powerful, and instead of like you see a lot of games do things like, you fight the Dark Link or you fight the Dark Pit or something like that. This was, you've been weakened and you have to fight a mindless monster that is you at the height of your powers at the end of Super Metroid, which is crazy. So you just can't fight that thing, and it's chasing you through the whole game, and I thought that made for a really, really fun and unique experience. Had the little monsters that you saved in Super Metroid in there. There's my cartridge, and here's the manual. We'll do a quick little fly through of that, just because there's some good artwork in here. You got some creatures from SR388. This introduces the X-Parasite, which is a main plot point in the upcoming Metroid Dread, which I'm very excited about. This is a much more clinical instruction manual. This was, came out when I was a bit older, so I wasn't quite as, not bringing these to school because I wasn't really in school anymore. This came out when I was working at Toys R Us. And so it's got some neat artwork in it, but not quite as much as the old games. It's a pretty straightforward manual. Still got some neat looking stuff in there. Got your Hornode, and your Arachnus. I never remember this creature's name. I remember this boss battle shows up it was in Metroid 2, it was in Samus Returns, it's in this game, and I never remember the name of this creature. Because it's called Arachnus, but it doesn't look anything like a spider. Whatever. Either way, very cool stuff. I like this little Metroid series recap going on in the back here, which is pretty snazzy. But it's weird, right? You got your Player's Choice Super Metroid, your Player's Choice Metroid 2, but the original release Metroid. I wonder why they didn't put the re-release yellow box in the back there. Anyway, Fusion, great game, and this was, for the longest time, and actually until today even, this is the latest Metroid game. This was the furthest in the storyline that we had ever seen, and this was Samus fusing with a Metroid, so she now is part Metroid, which is crazy cool. But anyway, on the same day, like I said, we also got this unbelievable masterpiece, Metroid Prime. This is another one of the best games in the series, one of my favorite games of all time. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. I couldn't believe how good this game was, because just like Wind Waker, I was very upset with this game, because I've never been a big fan of first-person shooters. So when it turned out that the new Metroid game for GameCube was going to be a first-person shooter developed by an unproven American company, I couldn't have been more disappointed and nervous, because, Metroid meant so much to me. It totally skipped the N64 generation. So I'm finally getting a new Metroid, but I don't know how this one's going to work, and I couldn't have been happier. It turns out that this... It took me a little bit to get used to the controls at first, which I think helped me that I wasn't much of a first-person shooter guy, because I didn't miss the whole dual analog thing. That, by the way, is way cooler than this. This is cool. That's cooler. That should have been the box art. Whatever. And I love how the disc kind of looks like the Samus Morph Ball. That's very cool. But I remember playing the game and kind of getting used to it and thinking it was very impressive. I was having a good time. But it was like a couple hours in, and it finally dawned on me that I was playing a Metroid game, because I was running around in one of the earlier areas, and I was kind of lost. So I just pulled up my map, and I was just poring over the map, and then I was like, oh my god, this is it! I'm doing a Metroid game. I'm searching through my map, trying to figure out where to go next. This feels like Metroid. And they really did nail it. So at a certain point, I don't know if you noticed in all the other ones, I don't have anything besides the instruction manuals in there, because I started taking all this stuff out. And then I kind of stopped doing that eventually, because I realized it was a very silly thing to do. So here's your instruction manual. Again, this is a nice looking manual from back when they did back in the old days when they did manuals still. You got some really good lore. Look at this artwork. Look at the art of this game. It is gorgeous. And this game has aged extraordinarily well. This game looked amazing back then, and it still looks amazing now. Even just playing through on your GameCube with some basic tech to get it up and running on a modern HD TV, this game really, really holds up. So again, the manual is a bit on the clinical side, besides that really awesome artwork in the beginning there, the Chozo. But then you have this cool stuff. You could link up with Metroid Fusion to unlock the fusion suit in the game, which does nothing. It's just cosmetic. You just look different. But you could also unlock going the other direction, you could unlock the original NES Metroid in your copy of Metroid Fusion, which was pretty darn cool. And also rendered something else we're about to talk about effectively useless. Useless. There, I can talk. Confidential subject Metroid. There, look at this. little Metroid ad and teaching you how to do unlock the original Metroid in your Metroid Fusion game. How cool is that? Very cool. Cool stuff. And then we have Prime Time. This is for Nintendo Power, right? Yep. Subscribe to Nintendo Power, which was awesome. I miss Nintendo Power. Although, other things exist, like Nintendo Force. Check that out. All right, so there's Metroid Prime, which is great. Now, there are a couple of different releases. I mentioned in the intro that there's one that's half Wind Waker and Metroid Prime. There's a couple of retailer exclusives that have, like, logos on there, like, it includes a hat or something from Kmart. But the only one of those little special bonus ones I have is this. This was a version of it that came with the bonus disc of Metroid Prime 2. I don't have another copy of the game to go in there, but I used it to house this little guy, the Metroid Prime 2 bonus disc. And I can't remember why this is in this sleeve. Like, I think this came in a different bundle somehow, but you had your Metroid Prime, and then this bonus disc would have been down there. And I don't know. I held on to it because I snagged an extra copy of it from my store. It was when I was working in Game Crazy. I found this, and I just thought it was a cool cover. I like the lightning bolt and the little Metroid Prime 2, so I grabbed one. That's pretty neat. Ta-da! Okay, so then we have this. I hate this thing. I hate this game. So I had Prime and Fusion, and I unlocked NES Metroid in my copy of Metroid Fusion. So this was pointless to me. And then years went by, and it occurred to me that this was a unique Metroid release that I didn't have. So several months ago, I wound up ponying up to get one, and it was more money than I wanted to spend on another copy of Metroid that I will likely never play, because there are so many better ways to play the NES Metroid. But here it is. I have it. I don't want to talk about it. Okay, what I do want to talk about is this. You want to talk about a good way to play the original Metroid. Metroid Fusion is it. This is, if you've never played Metroid before, this is where you should start. Even before you play the original NES game, this is where you should start, because this is a masterpiece. This takes pretty much everything that was good about Super Metroid and applies it to a gorgeous remake of the original NES Metroid. Adds a whole new mission at the end where you play as Samus in her Zero suit, which is the suit that she wears under her suit, which is a whole stealth mission thing. It's got giant Kraid right on the back of the box. This game's pretty short because it's effectively just a remake of the NES Metroid. Even with the new stuff they added at the end, it's still pretty short. But this game's amazing. I wish it was more readily available. It is on the Wii U Virtual Console is probably the best way to play it on a TV, unless you grab it on... you can obviously get the original cartridge, which is crazy expensive nowadays, or you can get... we sell EverDrives on StoneAgeGamer.com. You can look into that as an option, but here's your whole prologue. We're past the point of getting a ton of really great artwork. That's a great picture of Samus in instruction manuals, but you still got some really cool looking stuff here. It's a nice looking manual, but yeah, it's pretty straightforward. Man, look at that Kraid art. Look at that Kraid. He's so cool. I miss Kraid. I really hope they find some sort of excuse to put Kraid in Metroid Dread, because I just want to play a modern game with Kraid in it. Where's Ridley? Did they really not put a picture of Ridley in there? Maybe I skipped it. Oh, well, whatever. Game Boy Player, also a really cool way to play this game. Game Boy Player is pretty darn cool. Basically, Super Game Boy for your GameCube. Nice way of doing things. So there is Metroid Zero Mission. This is how you do a remake, folks. This is it right here. Remakes don't get a lot better than Metroid Zero Mission. So let's see, what was next? Metroid Prime was a big success, so you better believe they made a Metroid Prime 2. And as you can see, the cover was like a foil cover. It's got this really, really cool shimmering effect going on. I love this artwork. This game's really good. It's got a lot of good points. I don't love it nearly as much as I love the first Metroid Prime, but I liked all the artwork that surrounded it. I think the multiplayer mode is way better than people gave it credit for. It was a bit on the tacked on side, I suppose, but it's a pretty cool, fun way to play with a handful of friends if you got some people involved in it. Like your scan visor disrupted their lock on you. Oh, what is this? What is this? It's my handwriting. What in the world? Oh my goodness! It's just a map I drew. Oh, my terrible handwriting. What is all this? So this was me writing down where I found certain keys and stuff, I guess? What the heck was I doing? This is so cool. I don't even remember doing this. Oh, that's awesome. Oh, the old days before the internet, huh? Then we've got, you know, the little ad for Metroid Prime Hunters coming out on Nintendo DS. Demo came with the console, too. We'll touch on that in just a minute. Look at this. This brought the screw attack into 3D, and it worked so well in 3D. Like, man, they really nailed it with the screw attack. They worked it the same way they did the Morph Ball, where the camera pans out, and you get to see Samus jumping around. That's such a cool artwork. And then your instruction manual is, I don't remember this one being all that impressive. I didn't really spend a lot of time poring over the booklets anymore at this time. So, let's see. Yeah, it looks pretty dour. Not a whole lot going on here. Some nice looking screenshots. It's very informative, clearly, but not a lot of awesome artwork or anything like that in there. So, not the most interesting thing I've ever seen. Metroid Prime 2 Echoes is an excellent game. Apparently, I drew some weird stuff. Was I copying this out of a strategy guide, maybe? I have no idea what this is. That's so funny to me. There we go, Metroid Prime 2. So what comes after Metroid Prime 2? Not Prime 3, not yet, because first we got to take a trip into the land of Pinball. This game rules. Metroid Prime Pinball is just one of the coolest video pinball games. It recreates a bunch of tables from areas from Metroid Prime 1, and you play out as, like, Samus is the pinball. It's got really great music, and my copy is actually upstairs. I didn't bring it downstairs. My copy of this game is always with my Nintendo 3DS, because I just love playing this game still. This also came with a Rumble Pack, which I don't know where mine is right now. In the original DS, you had a Game Boy Advance port in the bottom. And the Rumble Pack is shaped like a GBA cartridge, and you put it in there, and it would shake along with this game, which is neat. So, you know, looking at the instruction manual, got some cool artwork, and it does the whole, like, dual screen thing to recreate the verticality of a pinball table. You just go around collecting the Chozo artifacts, and you fight bosses as a pinball. This game is a masterpiece of pinball games. If you have any interest in video pinball at all, even if you're not a Metroid fan, you got to try this game. It is so stinking good. Like I said, it never leaves my carrying case for my 3DS. It's just, that's why it's not here. I do want to know where my Rumble Pack is. That is a good question. I don't know where that thing went. I have to track that one down. Anyway, also on the DS, when you bought the DS, like we said before, you get a demo for Metroid Prime Hunters. This is Metroid Prime Hunters' first hunt. And this actually is a pretty unique thing because it includes content that was not in the final game. This game got delayed pretty harshly when the DS came out and was reworked considerably. And they took a lot of this stuff out. But there's some unique music in here, totally unique levels. There's some really cool stuff here. This basically worked more as like, yeah, it was a demo of this game, but it was also more of a tech demo than anything of like, hey, check it out. We've got a first-person shooter working on this Nintendo DS, and it's not bad. There's nothing here, just it's repeated in different languages. There's really not much to it, but it is a thing that exists. So it came with the first runs of the Nintendo DS, and I like the artwork on the front too. It's pretty cool. But then you have the real thing. Metroid Prime Hunters. It also has that cool shiny cover, just like Metroid Prime 2. It's got all the other hunters in the background, which are really cool character designs. I thought these other hunters were great. So yeah, I didn't like this game when it first came out. What the... I have another copy of Prime Hunters in here. First Hunt. Okay. But here's my copy of Prime Hunters and all the accompanying books and stuff that came with this. I don't think there's anything even remotely interesting in here, but yeah, you got your Wi-Fi connection stuff, because you could play this one online. A little ad for Metroid Prime 2, some Club Nintendo stuff for registering your game, you know, get Nintendo Power, etc., etc. Cool stuff. And then here's the instruction manual itself for the game. And like I said, I didn't like this game too much when it came out. I liked the idea of it, but I remember playing it on my DS and just not sticking with it. I had no interest in finishing it off. I never found anyone to play multiplayer with. And that was more or less the end of it until just earlier this year, my son wanted to play through every Metroid game with me. I was like, okay, sure, let's do it. So we sat down and he effectively watched me play all the Metroid games in release order, and when we got to Prime Hunters, I bought this on the Wii U Virtual Console because you can actually get this game on your TV if you have a Wii U, and it works fairly well, about as well as it does on the DS as far as the controls are concerned, because there's a lot of tapping, like jumping is double tapping. So it's got its issues, but I gotta say the single-player campaign in this game was a lot better than I expected it to be. I'm not saying this is some sort of like lost masterpiece or anything that you should really check out, but if you're a big Metroid Prime fan, it's really worth giving a look to, because there's more to it than meets the eye. And these character designs, the Sylux, Weevil, Candon, Trace, and Noxus and Spire, these were really cool designs, right? I mean, I liked these better than the ones that the other bounty hunters that showed up in Prime 3. And I hope that we do get to see more of them at some point. Apparently this guy is still out there somewhere. There's been some hints at his return. I would love to see more of them. I would love to see this game get properly remade with, dual analog controls and better graphics, because now granted this is one of the best looking DS games I've ever seen. It's got some really impressive visuals, but it's no Metroid Prime, but it is a pretty excellent game in its own right. So Metroid Prime Hunters. So what was next? We got the Wii, we got Metroid Prime 3 Corruption. The Wii was the Wii Sports machine, without a doubt, but there were a handful of very good games made, like traditional style games that came out on the Wii, and this is one of them. Prime 3 is great. I never finished this one initially when it came out. I got really far in it. I don't know why I stopped, because earlier this year when I was doing my whole series playthrough, I finished this with my son, and I got pretty close to the end. I really don't know why I stopped. I was like an hour away from the end of the game. Anyway, cool cover art, right? I'm not sure why we needed the extra Dark Samus floating around in the background, unless that's not Dark Samus. So that's Dark Samus. This is like corrupted Samus, I guess? I don't know. Cover doesn't make a lot of sense, but it's pretty neat looking. This one gave you the fusion cannon, I think was what it was called. You were infected with Phazon, and you have to fight Dark Samus, which Dark Samus was a really cool character. In case you haven't played through the other Prime games, Metroid Prime at the end was the last boss of Metroid Prime, and it was like this gigantic, gross, Phazon-infused Metroid monster that absorbed your Phazon suit and became Dark Samus. So the other games are called Metroid Prime because Dark Samus is Metroid Prime. There you go. The title actually does make sense. So here's your fun little register your software thing. Here's a little ad for, hey, if you like Metroid Prime 3, check out these other games. Please buy something other than Wii Sports, please. Good looking stuff. Twilight Princess, Mario Strikers Charged, Super Paper Mario, some pretty solid games. And then, like I said before, we're way past the point of seeing lots of unique and special artwork and instruction manuals, but this is a big, thick one with some Dark Samus in it. I think this is it's just repeated a bunch of times in a couple of different languages, which is why it's so thick. So it's a pretty paltry manual. Nice glossy pages, though. It's a good looking book, and this is a really good game. This is a very solid game. I very much enjoyed it. But then the way to play it, sort of, is this Metroid Prime Trilogy. This game became worth a lot pretty quickly. I couldn't believe more people didn't buy it when it came out. I couldn't believe it came out. Honestly, I could not believe that this came out at all. Like, okay, we're going to slap all 3 Metroid Prime games on one disc for your Wii? Okay. Now, in Europe and Japan, I think there was a new play control version of the first 2 Metroid Prime games that made them Wii compatible. So you didn't have to deal with these single analog stick controls. And that's what's included in this rendition here. You got this cool clear cover that went over this steelbook case. It was really, really nice. It's got unique menus on it. None of the games have their own title screens anymore, which is a little weird. Kind of threw me off, but this is my preferred way to play through the games now. Although, if you have the option to download this on the Wii U Virtual Console, because that actually has faster load times, particularly with Metroid Prime 3. Works better on the Metroid Prime Trilogy on the Wii U. What is this? What? I actually don't remember this thing at all. Look at this thing. Metroid Prime Trilogy History. Phase. Oh, wow, look at this thing. How did I not know about this? There's Gandreda. There's all your other... Wow, this is a cool little thing, huh? Why is this stuck together? Okay, I see. Okay. Ooh, look at that. Wow, this is printed on some, like, super glossy paper. Some awesome artwork over here. I can't believe I never knew this existed. What is wrong with me? This is awesome, man. Look at this. Look at all this. This collection is great. I mean, you got all 3 Prime games on one disc, which is just madness. And here's your book that kind of basically just reprints the books for Prime 1, 2, and 3. All your basic info there. There's some Ridley flying around. And like I said, the Wii U downloadable version actually has some improvements. You've got some cool stuff going on here in the back. This is an excellent poster. There's GameStop had a poster of this when you pre-ordered this game, I think. I've got that poster rolled up around here somewhere. I've never found a good place to hang it, but it's a really good looking poster. But there you go, Metroid Prime Trilogy for the Wii. Hopefully someday we get these Metroid Prime games on the Switch with traditional dual analog controls, similar to what they did with Skyward Sword. But I won't be holding my breath. All right, things start going downhill pretty hard from this point forward. Starting here. Metroid Other M. This game is heartbreaking. When they announced this game, it looked amazing. And it does look amazing. This game has a great look. It actually is pretty fun to play, but it cuts itself off at the feet at every single turn. Great art direction. The story is just bug nuts. It is complete nonsense, and I do mean that literally. I've seen some people take issue to people using the word nonsense incorrectly to say that something doesn't make much sense, or I forget what they suggested I use instead. But no, I think the story in this is actual nonsense. There are so many things that you just look at and say, why would you do that? And a lot of it takes away from what makes Metroid Metroid in favor of trying to tell this ridiculously complicated story that involves Ridley being a chicken, like a little chicken monster, a bunch of other characters they introduce you to. They change things like the Varia suit is now a feature that you turn on and off. Same with the gravity suit, just makes you glow purple instead of changing the suit to a different suit. But look how cool these beams look. The wave beam. Oh my god. I could write a dissertation on everything that's right and wrong with this game. But at the end of the day, it is a pretty fun game to play. These are, again, duplicates in other languages, so you're not really missing much here. You had to play the game with the Wii Remote held sideways, which was absurd because this is a 3D Metroid game. It's in third person, so you see Samus the entire time. And boy, does she talk. I mean, she will just wax poetic about every single thought that pops into her head, including reminiscing about scenes that you just watched. It's insane. This game is nothing short of insanity. Team Ninja did some really awesome work with this. Nintendo and Sakamoto, which were in charge of the story and the overall direction, not so much. But it is a fascinating game, and it's pretty cheap to find because nobody wants it. Because there's some really terrible moments in here. But boy, the stuff it gets right, it gets really right. I can't say that this is an amazing game that you need to play, but if you're a Metroid fan, try this game out and try to make it through to the end, because there's some really, really good stuff in here. It's just buried underneath a larger pile of really, really bad stuff that's just hard to get through. But like I said, visuals are one of the things that worked well with this, and this was a pre-order bonus. It was sitting on my shelf next to my copy of Other M, so I figured I'd grab it. It's like an art folio, so it's just a bunch of these still images, and I don't want to I can't get this thing off comfortably. Come on, you can do this. I don't want to ruin it. It might decrease the value of my greatly sought-after Metroid Other M stuff. No, I just don't like wrecking stuff if I don't have to. Come on, you can do it. Anyway, yeah, so there's just a bunch of these little cards with different bits of artwork from Metroid Other M, which had great art direction for the most part. Samus's suit was a little strange in some ways. I mean, like, they're just screenshots. And even then, they look good. I mean, there's so much to like about the way this game looks. With a little bit of tweaking, the gameplay itself could really override the just astronomical levels of stupid to be found in this game. Like, you start the game with a replay of the ending of Super Metroid, and they get so much of it wrong. She's not even wearing the gravity suit. What the... there are better things to get angry at. Metroid Other M's a weird game. Moving on. So, there was no Metroid game on the Wii U. However, we had this. Now, if you've never played Nintendo Land before, shame on you. Go buy this game. Go get a Wii U and play Nintendo Land. This game got so much flack that it didn't really deserve, but it kind of did because it wasn't Wii Sports. But I think this game is even better. I still play this with my family. Family and friends, we can still have a lot of fun with Nintendo Land. This is an evergreen, awesome multiplayer game that can only be done with the two-screen setup of the Wii U. And one of the things is a Metroid game. See that? Metroid Blast is what it's called, and it's got unique remixes of Metroid music. And this also stands as, I believe, the only game in the franchise where you can actually fight Ridley and Kraid at the same time. You can team up as 4 different people as Samus and a 5th person flying around in Samus' spaceship. And it's like a cooperative shooter that's really fun to play. It's not perfect, but it's a pretty fun experience, and it's very, very Metroid. As in, like, just covered in its personality, not, like, gameplay-wise. There's no real seeking out items or anything, but it's a fun game. And it's the closest we got to an actual Metroid game on Wii U, outside of the fact that the Wii U is the way to play most Metroid games right now. You can get Prime Hunters, Prime Trilogy, Zero Mission, and Fusion all running through the Virtual Console. You've got the Metroid Blast and Nintendo Land. It's a really good way to play your Metroid games. But then we had probably the darkest of days in the Metroid camp, and that is this gentleman right here. In a world where we had the last Metroid game was Metroid Other M, and that did not go over well with Metroid fans. We had been positively itching for a new Metroid game, and Nintendo announced, here's your next Metroid game. It is a spin-off that does not star Samus. It's got cutesy chibi graphics, and it is a multiplayer online shooter instead of just a regular style Metroid game. And people were admittedly, and in my opinion, rightfully cheesed off. I'm actually trying to play through this game now, which is why my copy isn't here, but I brought it down here to make this video, and now I don't know where it is. Whatever. I am consistently being bored by this game. I don't love it. I don't hate it, but it's not really a single-player thing. This is clearly designed to be played with multiple people, and not a lot of people did that because there wasn't a lot of reason to. Even when you're playing it with other people, it's just fine. Blast Ball was a neat idea, but Rocket League did it better. So this is like you have a big ball and you have to shoot it into the goal instead of ramming it with a car, which is way more fun. This is a weird game, and it made a lot of Metroid fans very angry and very sad, myself included. I had bought it the day it came out, kept it sealed until a few weeks ago when we, actually a few months ago at this point, my son and I finished our Metroid playthrough, and it came time for this one, so I cracked it open, we played the first level, and he said he was done. It's like, I love Metroid, but this isn't it. I'm out. So I've been trying to play through it by myself, and it just has been boring the snot out of me. So, boo, Federation Force. Not a terrible game, just not for me. And then last, but very much not least, we have Return to Form. This is Metroid Samus Returns for 3DS, and I wanted nothing more in the world than to play this game on my Switch. But unfortunately, it's only on 3DS. So no matter how much I want to play this on a big TV, I currently cannot do that. But this game is... Hey, there's my Federation Force. So where's my Samus Returns? Oh, well, whatever. I'm sure it's around here somewhere. I think it's still upstairs with my 3DS. Oh, well, whatever. No instruction manual. This game's great. And this was done by Mercury Steam, who did the Castlevania Lords of Shadow stuff, with supervision from Nintendo, and I think they turned Metroid 2 into a really, really awesome experience. It's got some flaws. It relies a little bit too much on this melee counter that they introduced. A lot of the environments... It suffers from being Metroid 2, which is one of the most linear Metroid games outside of Metroid Other M. But that being said, there's a groundwork for some really amazing stuff in here, and I'm so glad that that's the team that got to move on and make Metroid Dread, because it seems like they learned every lesson that they possibly could from this game and turned Metroid Dread into something extraordinarily special. I have played through this game twice now. I finally got the little circle thing that lets me use Amiibo on my 3DS, so I unlocked the hard mode, played it for about 5 seconds, and noped the heck out, because boy, that's tough. And there's some really cool artwork in here. There's some great lore stuff they added to this. Talking about like an evil band of Chozo that kind of messed things up. They added a Ridley fight to the end that actually ties in continuity-wise with some Metroid Prime stuff in the timeline, and just makes the whole overall story of Metroid make a bit more sense. This is, as far as I'm concerned, the way to play Metroid 2. If you're getting into this series for the first time and you want to play the story in order, you do Zero Mission, this, Super, and Fusion, and then you go back and play the NES version and the Game Boy version for, you know, the history lesson and the visual stuff and kind of learning about the evolution of it. But that is the Metroid franchise. That's all the Metroid games that have been released in America, as far as I know, and my copies of them. And, well, gosh darn it, I love Metroid. So one more piece that I wanted to mention in my collection, which isn't really part of my collection, but I did technically will it into existence, and it's pretty much my favorite Metroid thing that exists, and it's the music that's been playing throughout the course of this video. I commissioned Banjo Guy Ollie to do 6 Metroid-themed covers. I picked the songs, and he just completely knocked it out of the park, and I can't believe how good the music came out. I mean, I can because he's awesome, but if you've been enjoying the music in this video, then go check out his channel, Banjo Guy Ollie. He's got tons of other great covers out there as well, ranging from everything from Outrun to Super Mario Brothers, all over the map. Great stuff. But yes, the Metroid franchise. As you can tell, I love it. I've loved it since I was a kid. I cannot wait for Metroid Dread. I can't wait for the eventual Metroid Prime 4. I love that the franchise is getting all this attention. Every day on Twitter I see new Metroid-themed artwork and stuff. It's so cool seeing so much promotion put behind this franchise that it's never exactly been tiny. You know, we're not talking Chibi Robo levels here, but it's never really been, I think, as high up in the pantheon as it really deserves, because seriously, some of the best games ever made have the word Metroid in the title. Thanks for watching, everybody. If you liked what you saw here today, please comment, like, subscribe, tell us your stories about your favorite Metroid experiences, your favorite Metroid games. Did I forget something? Is there a Metroid game that I just left out of my video because I'm a lunatic? Just let us know in the comments. We always love hearing from everybody. Thanks again for watching. On behalf of all of us here at Stone Age Gamer, keep playing games.